there, Vanagon addicts. This is Ken Wilford here at Vanagon. Today we are going to look at cleaning up pistons and getting them ready to be reinstalled into the engine. So normally I don't do this. Normally I will use new pistons and cylinders. It just makes a lot less work for yourself. And again, if the engine is old and has a lot of time on it, I would rather have new pistons and cylinders. There's different sizes you can do. There are these sizes, which is the stock size for the 2.1. It's about 94 millimeters. Then there's some that's 95, 96. And there's some even bigger. Okay, the 2.1 pistons are the stock for the 2.1 engine, of course. You can also get, like I said, a 95, or a 95.5 or 96, which would be like a 2.2 engine. And those usually will go in without any modifications. They just make the cylinder walls a little bit thinner to allow for the extra, basically like half a millimeter on each side here. It's not a whole lot of extra material they're taking out, and you don't have to do any machining on the case or anything like that. So this is piston number 1, cylinder number 1, which on the waterboxer engine is the cylinder that's on the right side, on the passenger side towards the flywheel. Okay, so if you get any confusion on that, that's how you can tell which one number 1 is. It also has, whenever I take these off, I leave this one circlip in. That's the side that's towards the flywheel, so I know, okay, this is towards the flywheel. I also put a mark of a 1 on here in the middle, so I know which one it is that way. And I'm not sure if this was supposed to be this way or not, but there's also a number 1 up here on this factory piston. And then another thing you're looking for is over here, which is, I can't quite get the goo off of here, but there's an arrow right here pointing. That's going to be pointing towards the flywheel also. Okay, so this is cylinder number 1. Like I said, it's a rear one. How do I clean it up? Well, like I said, normally I don't. But in this case, we use some brake cleaner. I mean, you can put it in a parts washer also, which I do have. But I just used brake cleaner, rinsed it off, washed it off. I also used some Scotch-Brite, industrial strength Scotch-Brite. And you just move, the big thing you're worried about is cleaning it a little bit, but also your ring lands, right? You want to clean them out. And in the book, they're like, take a ring off, break it, scrape, use it to scrape the ring lands, and then reinstall new rings. But in this case, this motor has less than 100,000 miles on it. It's got factory rings that are in excellent condition. So all I did was, I just did this motion. I put some brake cleaner on it. I did this motion, which is basically the exact same thing as scraping the ring lands, because the open ends of the rings are scraping in there. And it basically scraped any debris. You just go like all the way around, like you're twisting it. It basically scraped any debris out. And then when you spray the brake cleaner, the debris just kind of washes out of it. And then you can wipe it off with a rag. Okay, so not really that complicated. Another thing that you want to make sure you clean up and deal with is the piston pin. So this is a big deal when you're taking the engine apart. The piston pin doesn't like to come out. It gets all like lacquered up. Even with this low mileage engine, it did not want to come apart. Let me pull it out of here. And it's a very tight fit, as you can tell. I'm trying to get it out, and because it's such a tight fit, it wants to give me a hard time, but it'll come apart here. There we go. So, what you want to make sure is you're cleaning in here also, because what happens is there kind of gets a ridge formed in here when you very first put the pin in. It doesn't like to go in because of that ridge. I use Scotch-Brite on this because it doesn't really remove material that much. It just kind of smears it around. And so if you have, it's a very non-invasive way to clean something so that it's not, you know, you're not destroying it. Like, you don't want to wear this hole out so it's so huge and big that it has a lot of slop. You just want to make it so that when you go to put this piston pin in, what you're going to have to do with the piston in the car, okay, you want it to just slide in super nice and easy and smooth, just like this, okay, so that it works nice. And then on the pin itself, I clean that. I use the Scotch-Brite on that, clean that all up, right, rinse it off, wash it off, until it slides in here nice and smooth. So at this point, the only thing left to do on this is to put your rings where they need to go. So, like I said, you know that this orientation is the orientation is going to be sitting in the motor by the fact that this arrow is pointing back to the flywheel on the bank that I'm on, which is on, like I said, the passenger side. If we were on the other side, okay, it'd be like this, of course. It's hard to really comprehend it in your mind brain, but it'd have to be like this. The arrow is going to be up here and pointing that way because we're on the total opposite bank. So, you know, on one side it's at the bottom, at the other side it's at the top, but the arrow has to be pointing, you know, to the flywheel no matter what side. And like I said, before you remove any of this stuff, you want to mark it and make sure you know which 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so once you've figured that out, okay, it's going to be on this side of the engine. There's another piston here, okay, just to give you a reference. That's the number 2 and it's towards the big pulley. So now you know, okay, this is the piston in the motor. The first thing I want to do is make sure that this back ring back here, which is the biggest, widest one, that's your oil control, okay? You want that to point up, okay? Because when the engine is turned off, right, the oil wants to settle in the bottom of the cylinder. You don't really want this ring to be down there, okay, to maybe let more oil come out. So instead, you point that ring up, and I usually put it off to one side here, not directly straight up, but off to one side. So then the second ring, that is one of our compression rings. That one I face down. Okay, so you just turn it like you're turning a wheel or something. I usually face that one pretty much straight down. There's no other ring that's going to be facing down there, so straight down is fine. Okay, you also don't want them facing towards where the piston pin is. I'm not totally sure why. I'm not a super motorologist, but there's reasons for that. And then the final one, the very one that's towards the end of the piston head here, I also point up, but I clock it so like it's here, the other one's over here. They're not, you don't want ring gaps to line up, okay? So you don't want them to line up with each other. Although I have taken motors apart, they've been lined up with each other. Has it really seemed like it affected it? Not really. But, you know, you're doing this, so you might as well do it in a way that might not cause issues in the future. Okay, so we got that all set up. So now our piston is ready to go back into the cylinder. I'm going to set it to the side. The cylinder is not ready yet. Okay, so now we've got our cylinder right here. Here's our good used cylinder. As you look at this, it's got these flat ears on it, and then it's got 2 other ears doesn't have a flat between it. So the flat thing goes towards the center of the engine. So you would always install it that way. Okay, so as you're putting it into the engine, the 2 cylinders, both flat things, would go towards the center. This cylinder itself, I mean, it's in good condition. I could probably put it in as is. You can see cross hatching in here and stuff. But, you know, I've got this thing apart. I'm not going to do that. So instead, I am going to hone it. Okay? Honing stuff has kind of become a lost art form because people just buy new stuff. But I'm going to show you how I was taught to do it. I went to school for aviation mechanics back in the late 90s. And you know, those engines they use are basically the same engines in the Beetle and the waterboxer. They might not have water jackets on them, but they are, you know, opposed engines. We learned how to rebuild them. And aviation stuff is super expensive, so you don't want to just throw it away, you reuse it. Alright, so what am I doing? Marvel Mystery Oil or automatic transmission fluid, the red kind. You put that in your cylinder and you basically, you know, be generous with it, wipe it around in there. That's going to be your lubricant for cutting. Then you buy yourself a hone. This one kit I bought on Amazon. It has multiple different sizes, so if I want to hone something else in the future, I can do that. Okay. As far as drills and stuff go, I would really recommend using an air drill if you can get one, or a drill that has an adjustable speed. I'm going to zoom out here a little bit so you can see better. Okay, an adjustable speed. Why? Because when you do this, you want to go very slow. Okay, so you basically get your hones in here. Okay, it's on your drill. Alright, we can see all that. And then you want to go really slow speed because you're trying to match the speed that you're going at. Why is that doing that right? The speed that you're going at with your in and out. Because you're trying to make a cross-hatching pattern. And so as you're turning it, as it's turning, the exact same speed you're going in and out with your hone. And it takes some time. You sit here and you make it go in and out. I'm using this Ryobi drill that I have to be super careful with the trigger pressure because if I just trigger it, it's going to go really, really, really fast. And you don't want that, okay? You want to go in and out as you hone, slowly matching the speed of it, the turning of it. Okay, you can kind of see what I'm doing here. And what you're trying to do, like I said, you're making a cross pattern in there. Alright, let me take this out. I might have to do a little bit more. We'll see how it's turning out here. So, you know, when you're doing this, you could... Oh yeah, it's turning out great. I mean, you could just put the hone in there and go... Right? And be done in about 2 seconds. But the problem with that is all the lines would be straight all the way around. Okay? And you get done and you look in here and there's all these straight lines going all the way around. So when the piston's going in and out on that, okay, instead of the rings wearing properly, it's going to chatter. It's going to go, okay? And it's not going to seat properly. So when you do a crosshatch pattern, which is what we got going on in here, okay, I could clean it more. That wears the rings as it's going in and out, evenly allows them to, you know, not chatter and have a nice, you know, wear in. So once you get that all done, which it's pretty much done now. You say it wasn't really that long of a process. The original cross hatching was great. We were basically just breaking glaze on here. We weren't really having to rehone it per se. But you can feel it now. It's got like a little bit, just a little tiny bit of roughness in here, which is what you want. You don't want it to be rough, but you want it to feel like a satin feel in here. Why? Because then your rings are going to be able to wear in properly, to be able to, you know, seal. That's the whole point of this, is so your rings can seal, so they can do a good job for the future and that kind of stuff. Alright, so where we're at right now, we are getting ready to put our piston back inside of this. You want to make sure you take out these old O-rings. I got one here, I got one up here. Let's see, my pick is right here. You want to get these old things out of here while you got this thing out. It's just way easier. Like I said, this is super easy, right? Why? Because this motor was getting new heads on it when the head stud got broken. So even though it's been sitting for 10 years, that was a brand new O-ring that came off. I just go around here, clean this out here. Then on this side, the black one, everybody's favorite O-ring to talk about. Again, you just take a pick and get it out of here. Yep. Take it off and throw it in the trash. Okay. Now you can see I just took this off. This is the original one. Look at it, guys. It's perfect. It doesn't have, it's not even smashed. Okay, it's perfectly round. It's perfectly pliable. It's been sitting in oil for all these years, which apparently it loves and stuff. And that's it. So that's why I say normally replacing it, why do it, but whatever. We're doing it because this is out. And we can do it easily. Alright, so you clean all that stuff off. We're going to put these O-rings back, new ones in. When we do this for realsies, put this in. Alright, so now we're getting ready to put the piston back into the cylinder. I'm going to do that on the next video. So please like, share, subscribe. This was how to hone a piston, Vanagon piston and cylinder, clean it up, get it ready to go. The next video is going to be installing it into this. I have to move the camera and stuff, so I'll just do that as a separate video. So please like, share, subscribe. You can also become a member. There's a link at the bottom for that. And if you become a member, you're basically saying thanks to us for doing these videos. You're also funding us for the future to be able to do more. And we would highly appreciate it. Right now, to be honest with you, we have 0 members. So if you become a member, every video, at least for the short term, I'm going to say your name on the video. And I'm going to talk about how amazing you are. And, you know, that kind of stuff. So if you want to become the first member and get your name mentioned in YouTube videos, you know, that's the thing. Alright guys, we'll see you guys on the next video. Please like, share, subscribe. We'll see you later.